Hey friends, it's Living Young Country Girl, and I'm finally getting around to sharing with you guys about our trip planning for our Tokyo trip. So we took the trip to Tokyo. It was 11 days total that we were in Japan, and we were let's see, it was 13 days or 12 days? 12 days, yeah. 12 days of us being gone. So we live in Arizona. And so for us to fly, the cheapest place to fly out of was Los Angeles, which isn't a big deal. It's not that far of a drive. So we decided to look for airfare going out of Los Angeles. Now, I originally, if you guys know a little bit about the story, we were going to go to Disney World. Price had already reserved a package and everything. And then I was watching Tim Tracker on here. If you guys don't watch him, he's an amazing, I love his vlogs. We were watching his vlog and his wife's vlog of Tokyo Disney, and I was just like, they did it for real. They were showing their planning video. I'm like, they were able to do it for a really reasonable price. And he was like, they live in Florida and they found really cheap airfare out of LA. So they were like, we'll just fly to LA, which they said their airfare wasn't that cheap, whereas we have the option of just driving. So we ended up finding airfare. I started researching after watching his stuff, and I'm like, I think we can do this for very close to the same price that it would cost us to go to Disney World. The trip would be twice as long because Disney World was only going to be 5 days, and then 2 days of travel, 5 days at the park. And, I was like, I think we can do this for very close to the same price, if not maybe a little bit more, but we'd also be staying longer. So what we ended up doing was I started searching for airfare, and I came across airfare out of LA to, not Narita, but the other one, the Hondi one, for like around $470 a person, I think about. And I was like, that is really good. So it was with Air China. And I remember him saying that they had read reviews about Air China and they decided not to go with it and to spend a little more and to go with that one instead. But I was like, my husband and I have flown Air China tons of times. It's an amazing airline. It was beautiful. They were really nice. I don't see the problem, right? So I'm like, maybe it's been let down since then, but we had a really great experience back when we used to fly to Hong Kong like every other month just about for work. So we were like, I was like, that's fine. We ended up booking the flights, and then I would say I booked the hotel also, and I found a rate on Hilton for a really good price, and I'll get to that afterwards. So booked the hotel, booked our flights. We were like, got kids' passports. We were going for it. Canceled our Disney World reservations. Then I get an email, and the reservations I made with the hotel, with the Hilton, you couldn't cancel. They said you could, but you weren't supposed to, like, kind of deal. I get an email saying that they changed our flight from LA. It was going to transfer in San Francisco, and then I think it was San Francisco, and then would go on to Japan. Well, I get an email that they've changed the time of that flight, and it is no longer leaving at 8 from LA and arriving in, San Francisco at 10 or 8, whatever it was supposed to be. It's now like 2 hours later. And I'm just like, we're not going to make the connecting flight. Do they even take this in consideration? They're just like, we put you on a different flight 2 hours later. I'm like, we're not going to get our connecting flight. So they said, you can either change the flight or you can cancel it. So I went and I was like, what are our options? I'm like, I guess we have to book an earlier one, or I don't know. Like, they gave me some options, and basically it gave us a really narrow window. And I was just like, this really makes me frustrated that they would just do that without even like asking us or checking. And it was just really hard to communicate and get a flight that would not have a huge layover, like overnight layover in San Francisco. So I was kind of frustrated. And when I was searching to change our flights, I realized that we were not flying Air China. We had been flying China Air. Like, how silly is it to name it so close? China Air has a little pink flower as their emblem, and I remember that. Air China is like a red A. Like, you know, it's totally different. So then I was like, okay, wrong airline. Now I understand. I started looking at reviews, and yeah, it was horrible. So I'm just like, I am so stressed out now. I don't know what we're going to do. Like, the airfare and everything, we've already got the hotels. They're saying we can't, you know, change and cancel. And I'd looked at numerous hotels, mind you, too. I like was on booking.com and looking at all these different hotels and stuff. So I ended up calling, we went with Kayak. I searched Kayak. I was looking at Hopper. I was trying to find, you know, like the best deals. And it ended up finding Fly With Us, I think was what ended up having the cheapest airfare. And they had airfare that was less expensive. However, it was flying into Narita. And it was less expensive, and we were going to be able to use United Airlines. And I'm like, perfect. It's an airline I know. They speak English. I can communicate with them really well. Like, this will be a great one to do instead. So we ended up switching and canceling, because that was one of the options with the Air China, was because of the switch in our schedule that we could also cancel and get our money back, which normally you can't do, but because they switched it, we were allowed to. So I canceled with Air China. They refunded us, and we booked with United from LA with a transfer in San Francisco on the way out there, arriving in Tokyo at a really reasonable time, and then coming home, it was a direct flight. Like, it was a better flight, better time, everything. Granted, even with that one, because the first flight was running late, we ran into a little, like, run a mile in 2 minutes kind of deal. We had, I think, 10 minutes to go from, like, one wing at the very end, run all the way down, and go to the other one, and it was hilarious. Like, we were running. It was total, like the movies where you're like, run, run, Rudolph, and, you know, that one. So it was totally crazy. We were literally running, and remember, we took all carry-on, so we each had our own carry-on, and the kids are small, like, you know, so my husband and I are taking 2 carry-ons, and we're, like, racing through the airport trying to get to the other one because the first flight was late. So always make sure you have lots of time in there.
Like a mile, and like, I have an ankle problem, so that really hurt.
Yeah, it was crazy. We literally, they were like, last call for the blah, blah, blah family, like, you know, party of, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, we're running down the escalator, and they're like, there's 2 more coming, right? I'm like, yes, they're behind us, but my husband was staying back because her ankle was hurting, and she was like crying because she was like, I can't run this, and so it was crazy. So we ended up flying United though, and it was great. Like, as far as the airline was great, food is, you know, airline food never is that good.
Well,
but everything else was good. They treated this little guy like a prince on the way out there, like a king.
Like a king.
I got everything from
They gave
first
him
class.
chocolate.
They gave him like the food from first class. They gave him the chocolates and the desserts. They gave him the bags. They gave him like cheese platters. They gave him everything. Like, he was treated like a king on the way out there. Like, they were just in love with him. And so it was a great, great experience on the way out there, especially. And we had a row of 4, so we all got to sit together. So it was really nice. So that was our airfare. Our airfare ended up costing us, for a family of 4, it was right around $1,200, you guys. Like, it was $400 a person, give or take, for all of us to go. Which we were looking at spending about $360 to $380 just to fly to Florida. So airfare wise, we were very comparable. Granted, yes, we did have to drive out to Los Angeles, which again, we calculated how much it would cost in gas. We took my husband's car because it's a lot cheaper gas. We calculated the parking, and for like the week in LA, which was way more expensive than like Phoenix or any of the big airports in Arizona. And then we calculated the hotel that night. It was still cheaper for us to fly out of LA than it was to like try to take a flight here, because our hotel ended up being around $100 for the night, and gas was around $200. So we spent about $300 to go out there and back. And I think parking was around $100. So altogether it was about $400, which we couldn't find even like Southwest or anything. We couldn't fly for $400. And if we flew out of Phoenix and stuff, the prices were almost double. So for $400, we did the drive to LA, and we did it that way. So that ended up being our airfare, like around $1,200. Totally doable, you guys. You just have to look at the times that it's not that that popular to go. And the weather was phenomenal. So we went in that first week of October. The second week of October we went, and it was absolutely beautiful weather. We could not complain. The crowds were minimal, like they were no big deal. It was the perfect time to go. We loved all of the Halloween costumes that everybody was dressed up in, so that was really incredible. I would love to go back at Christmas some year. This next year I think we're going to stay local for Christmas because I love Disneyland Christmas. But some year I'd love to go back at Christmas because I've seen some of the videos of it at Christmas and it looks beautiful. So that was like incredible because that was, like I said, about the same price that we were looking at spending just to fly to Florida. And we still would have had to drive and park our car like at a larger airport in Arizona since we live not necessarily close to one. So, you know, it definitely makes a difference. Now, the next thing was our hotel. I was telling you guys a little bit about the hotel. The hotel, we ended up going with the Hilton. I looked at numerous hotels on booking.com and there were cheaper ones. However, as I started reading about shuttles, a lot of the shuttles, which we thought, like at Disneyland, we stay till closing a lot of nights. It closes like around 10 and we're there. They always usually run the shuttles for like at least another hour after closing or after Downtown Disney closes. Well, they don't have those there. So there is no like running a shuttle later. They pretty much stop like a half hour after the park closes, which if you know, you can be in a line and you could still be in the park. So we thought that won't work. We're going to want to be like there, you know, until closing, which we were so tired most nights. We did not make it till closing, but we did a couple nights. So, I was really concerned about walking around in the city at night if we didn't make the last shuttle. So that was kind of a concern. And I kept reading how, you know, like some of them didn't have shuttles. Other ones said you can walk there. And I'm looking and they're like, it's not a far walk. I'm like, I don't know the neighborhood. I don't know what it's like. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not comfortable walking with two small kids in a neighborhood I don't know, and the possibility of not being able to get the shuttle. They said taxis are super expensive there, so it wasn't like we could even do that. So we ended up paying a little bit more and chose to stay at one of the Disneyland partner hotels. We stayed at the Tokyo Bayside. So there's the actual Disney hotels that are on the monorail, and then there are a few hotels on the backside, on the Bayside, that are on the monorail as well. And they have the monorail stop, and then they have shuttle buses that take you from the monorail right to the hotel, and they run all the time. So that was very comforting to know that we would always have a reliable, safe transportation to and from our hotel to the parks. So we ended up going with the Tokyo Hilton. When I made my reservation, I said to the gentleman taking the reservation, we've got 2 adults and 2 children. He asked the ages of them, put them on the reservation. We ended up getting a Hilton members reservation. We were there for 9 nights, and we ended up paying $1,900 total US dollars, around there. So it ended up being a pretty good deal because of the location. Like I said, we probably could have paid about $600 less if we would have stayed off property and done the walk and tried to do all that stuff. But the fact that, like I said, we had that security and that ease, and it was, you know, the first time for the kids traveling international and stuff like that, we really wanted to try to keep it as relaxing and comfortable and safe as possible. So we ended up booking it through, you know, Hilton. They took the reservations. I was like, this is a phenomenal rate. I was so excited. I looked at reviews. It's also where Tim Tracker and his wife stayed. So it was like, yay, we're so happy. Like, kind of, you know, have an idea. It's a good place. So we did that. Then I get an email from the Hilton saying that the room should have been booked for 4 adults, not for 2 adults and 2 children. They consider children like ages 4 and under. They consider children a baby who can sleep with you in your bed, like not getting their own bed, not using actual like stuff. So they tell me that I need to basically pay them right now an additional $1,000, or when we arrive, it will be an additional like $1,700. So basically double what we were quoted. So I immediately contacted the Hilton and said, look, this is what I was quoted, blah, 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 blah. You know, I don't know what they're trying to do, but they're telling me if I don't do this. And the first person was like, oh, it's fine. I talked to the people at the desk. It's fine. They know that, you know, it's 2 older kids. You'll be fine. I'm like, no, I won't be fine. Japan's known for being very rule-oriented, like following. And if those are the rules for the hotel, that a kid over 4 is considered an adult, then I'm not going to arrive after traveling for 20 hours with my kids to a hotel and have them say, oh, wait, no, you need to pay another $2,000. I want my reservation to be this price like I was promised. And it needs to, if they want to see it say 4 adults, then you need to put 4 adults on there. And this needs to be taken care of. It ended up going to like some special lady, I don't know, with the Hilton that ended up calling me, and they ended up getting it all settled and straightened out. So that way when we arrived, the reservations were as the Japanese hotel wants to see it, because they said it was not your fault. It even shows in the reservation the age of the kids. However, the gentleman taking the reservation did not realize down at the bottom it says all kids over age like 4 or 6 or whatever need to be listed as adults. So he missed that, but since it was their fault, we ended up keeping that reservation, which again, that made our hotel a lot cheaper than it would have been. But we were very thankful that that worked out. So we ended up doing that. Now, the other thing that we did, and it wasn't a big expense, but just something that, you know, came into play, was we used Japan Wireless and got the hotspot, little internet hotspot thing at the airport. So you can do this at both airports. And it was the simplest thing ever. We literally went to the post office. You need to make sure that the hours you're arriving, the post office is open for starters. But we literally got off the plane, went to the post office, which was super easy to find. I showed them my passport. They handed me my little package. I opened it up. Our hotspot was in there. It came with an external charger and a plug-in charger and the cords that you needed for it. It was about $75 for our whole trip to be there. So we all could hop on it and use it. So we were able to use maps. We were able to use the app for Disneyland. We were able to use all kinds of things. The app for Disneyland is super helpful. There was a couple different ones, so definitely check them out and see which ones, work best. Some of them are a little laid out, a little closer and easier to understand, similar to the US ones. Some of them were a little harder to understand. I will try to... I don't know what I can do. Maybe insert a picture of the app, what the app looked like, so you guys can look for it in Google, the one that we found to be the most helpful. So I'll try to do that, insert a picture of what it looked like and the name of it. So that was something that we really found to be useful. And I would highly, highly, highly recommend using Japan Wireless. We did go with the higher grade internet, or this higher speed internet, but it was absolutely phenomenal. And then when we got back to the airport, we returned it there. You can, let's say if you are arriving late at night, you can have it actually mailed right to your hotel, so it's waiting for you there. However, because we were arriving during the day while the post office was open, and because I wanted to be able to kind of like look at reservations and check things once we arrived and like while we were driving on the bus, we picked it up at the airport and then dropped it off there so the kids could use it while we were on the bus again. And then we literally just walked up, and it has a package, a pre-mailed, like a pre-done envelope. So you literally just put everything back in there and you seal it up and you hand it to them at the post office and you're good to go. So I highly recommend using the Japan Wireless. I researched, it was the cheapest one that I found, as well as the service was amazing. We had no problems with all of us hooking onto it all the time. So that is definitely, I think, a big tip for using. The other thing was with food in general, when we were eating, we spent about $100 a day for a family of 4 to eat, which again, that's normally what we spend at Disneyland. And so for us, it wasn't a big deal, like as far as we didn't spend crazy amounts of money. Now, one of the ways that we did this was we did not eat at Disneyland that often. I think we only ate 1 or 2 meals at Disneyland. I think only 1 meal. And we didn't find the food to be that good. It really was not that good. Like the actual restaurant foods were not that good. So what we did was we actually we bought the pass to use the monorail for, I don't remember how many days. We bought the biggest one, I think it was for 4 days. And we didn't do this the first day, which we learned on the second day, was that on one of my videos, I actually show that, as well as on the hotel review, I show how you can use and what passes to get and everything. So you guys can check out that video. But I'll try to put the link somewhere around here. So what we did was we bought the pass that let us use it right at unlimited for 4 days, or however long you're going to be there. Buy that pass, because what we would do is we'd hop on it in the morning and we would ride it to the JR Mannheim station, and we would hop off and we would get our coffee and our breakfast and everything there. They had amazing places to eat there. The coffee shops were really good there. We went to Becker's. We enjoyed that one a lot. There's a crepe place, and I did a food video too that was amazing and phenomenal. There was quite a few places. The mall didn't open till after the park, like the main part of the mall, but some of these little small shops in the front were open. So we did that most mornings. We went and got coffee. There was breakfast sandwiches. There was Beck's, and then there was Becker's. So we got like breakfast sandwiches at some of them, and we would eat there before we'd go into the park. Now at the park, the snacks were phenomenal. Their popcorn was amazing. Their soft serve ice cream was amazing. And we found their snacks, their churros, their snacks were really reasonably priced, which didn't make sense why their food was not that good and not that reasonably priced, but their snacks were very reasonably priced and very good. So we ended up buying a snack here or there. The other great thing was at the Hilton Hotel downstairs in the lobby was a convenience store, and the convenience store had everything we could possibly need. We called it the convenience store because it had the ATM, because we were able to get cash out, and it had all kinds of food that they fresh stocked every day, from sushi to spaghettis to all kinds of things. So we would pack our backpacks full of drinks, the milk teas and just whatever, weird fun things. We would pack our backpacks full of that and full of like other snacks, and we would take those into the park. So we'd buy 1 or 2 Disney like snacks a day, but a lot of snacks we also brought all of our own drinks into the park, and they don't say anything about that. So that was one of the ways that we cut our cost a lot. The other thing was, in the evening, most nights we were pretty tired and we didn't want to necessarily go eat somewhere, so we would actually eat at the convenience store again. There was an actual bakery deli area that sold the exact same things as the convenience store, but for like twice the price. So if you're staying at the Hilton, pass the bakery that looks all beautiful and fancy and go to the convenience store, and you can get them there. And they actually have a microwave and silverware and everything, or like plasticware. So they heat everything up for you and they give you the plasticware. So it's super convenient. And it was super good, and it worked out phenomenal. And so we ate dinner there most nights. And then for lunch, we would leave the park and we'd go back because it was really quick. You guys, like, it's not like Disney World that takes forever, to get from one spot to the other. We would leave, hop on that monorail, go back to the J.R. Mannheim station, and we would get lunch. The ramen place was phenomenal. I showed that in my food video. There was also Beck's and Becker's had different foods and stuff. And there was just a ton of places that you could eat there. Some of like the more well-known, I think there was like a Red Lobster or an Outback or something. Like they had some like American ones too. So you could go there and you could eat your food, there. And again, it was way better priced. Like I said, the ramen was the best. For a family of 4, we would be stuffed with absolutely amazing, delicious food, and it would be like $20. So that was like pretty much every day. Once we discovered that place, we ate there. There were some mornings that we actually went and had like breakfast there. We just got ramen for breakfast because it was so delicious and it was so reasonable. And it just was like, it would warm you up. Like on one of the cold mornings, we went and got ramen for breakfast because it was cold. And so we loved going there and doing that. And it was kind of give you a break too from the park, to kind of just hop out. Sometimes we would use that if it was a day that we could use a hopper pass, and we'd switch parks at that point. But it really is a great way to save money, is to eat outside the parks and go back to the Mannheim station so you can actually go there. It's Xperia, I think is the name of the mall. So you would go there and you could, like I said, tons of stuff. The only place that we ate, there was a Hawaiian cafe. That one was quite pricey. It was delicious, but it was just big pancakes, and it was kind of pricey for pancakes, but it was still really good. So other than that, I think we had an absolutely amazing time, like just exploring that area and getting food there. The other thing that I wanted to say was, if you are staying at the Hilton Tokyo Bay, they do sell Disney park tickets there. You can only use cash, so either you need to exchange cash into yens ahead of time, or if you have, like my husband and I both had money in our account, we did not call ahead to raise our limit, which we should have, I guess, but it was fine because he took out his max, I took out my max, and the day we arrived, the day before, we took some out. So we took out enough in order to buy tickets that day. But just keep that in mind. And because of the time change, Actually, he took out his Max the night before and then was going to go take out his Max again the next day. And because of the time change, it was still the same day in the US. So he couldn't take it out. So like halfway through that next day, he could take it out. But I just went and took out my Max, and we were able to buy our tickets that way. Now, we bought 3 days because that's as big as they sell are 3 days. We bought the 3-day, which you have to use. You have to pick which park you're going to go to, Disneyland or Disney Sea. And then the 3rd day is a hopper one. And so we ended up buying a 3-day pass. And then we did Tokyo, the city of Tokyo on the weekend, and took the 2 days off. And then we bought another 3-day pass. So we ended up doing it that way and being able to kind of pick and go that way. The second time we bought it, I don't know if it was a change in season or what, but the prices actually dropped. So it was less the second time we bought our passes. And our passes, do you remember how much they were? I should have written this down. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cheaper than what we were going to spend at Disney World. Again, like the passes were actually cheaper. So for the 6 days versus like a 5-day pass at Disney World, we got 6 days and it was cheaper than what the 5-day was. So it was really worth it for us to do that. The prices do vary, I guess, depending on season. And I think that's what happened was we started at one price, and then like the second time we bought it, it was a different season. So they were about $100 cheaper. So that is something to also keep in mind if you guys are going to the Tokyo Hilton. You can buy at the park, and then there also is in the Xperia Mall, they actually have vacation packages too that you can buy. And it seemed like they had some little extra goodies that you could get, because there was one package I was looking at online that was like, if you bought like a 3-day or whatever, they threw in a free VIP sitting or something like that, and a popcorn bucket. But the hotel didn't have that, but it looked like the vacation spot that's in the Xperia Mall, like the Disney actual vacation center, had those packages there. So that's something to check too. We bought our tickets at the hotel before, and we didn't find this Disney little planning like vacation center in the mall till the last day. But that's something to check out, is to go to that spot and see if you can get, if they have any special packages. You might find a language barrier there. I'm not sure, because we did go in there and we did ask them a question, and they did not know what we were saying. So they might have been able to have somebody else that did speak English. But at the hotel, they had people that spoke English. So that was nice too, because we could ask them and stuff, and then they helped us. So that's kind of the whole rundown of how we planned our trip and what we did. What would you like to say? What were you saying? Okay. So that was it. I would have to say, if we would do it again, yes, definitely. The kids definitely felt a little homesick, because that was a really long trip, because we had 8 days of being there, and then 10 days of traveling, and then like actual, with airfare or flying in and out, and then the day driving to California and all of that. So it was a very long trip for them for their first trip, and then to go international was a little bit overwhelming as well. So they did amazing. They did phenomenal. Totally easy to do. We did the shuttle bus from the airport to our hotel. It took us right there to the hotel. It was super simple. At the time, Narita was, I think it was a little bit more expensive to drive from Narita, but they did have some kind of like anniversary special. If they didn't have that anniversary special, it would have been cheaper to fly into the other airport and to go from there. When we originally booked our airfare on Air China, we were flying into that airport, but when it switched to United, they switched us to the different airport, and I didn't realize it until afterwards. But I was, like I said, so glad to be on an airline that we felt comfortable with, and that we got it for cheaper. And after all that fiasco with Air China, I was like, so there you guys go. That was a little rundown of what our trip was like, planning it, kind of some of the things that we ran into, some of the tips and ideas. And I hope this helped you guys out. If you guys are planning a trip to Tokyo Disney, be sure to comment below and let me know. Put one of those beautiful castles down below in the comments. Tell me what questions you have. I will try to answer them as best as I can. Like I said, we were definitely lucky in a lot of ways to find the deals that we did and to get what we did be able to do what we got to be able to do. And I think we said all in all, our trip to Disney World when we originally were looking at it was going to be around 4,000 like 500 to do a trip of like 5 days at Disneyland, 2 days traveling. So it was gonna be a 7-day trip with 5 days at the park. And we were looking at about 4,500. We ended up spending, I think around, maybe it was 6,000, I think it was about 6,000, but that was also including like merchandise and everything to go to Tokyo. So for that little bit more to be able to go all the way to Tokyo and the trip to be twice as long and to go that much further and experience such an amazing thing was really incredible. We didn't spend a lot on souvenirs per se. We did buy a few nice expensive ones, and I did a whole video on our Tokyo like merchandise haul, but there really wasn't that amazing merchandise, so we didn't really spend a bunch of money on there. Bought a couple little, like my sweatshirt was kind of expensive, but really there wasn't a lot of expensive merchandise that we bought. So there you guys go. I hope that helped you out. Like I said, if you have any questions, comment below. If you guys like this video, it helped you out, give it a big thumbs up. And I hope you guys have a beautiful, blessed day. And hopefully you soon will be on a magical trip to Disneyland, Disney World, Disney Tokyo, Disney Paris, wherever your travels take you. I hope they are magical. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Bye.